Everyone. This is Faith from Faith World Media, and today is my last day of 30-day live. I feel like I have a lot to share, and I just want to summarize and kind of maybe show you and tell you guys what I have learned in the past 30 days of doing this. In fact, I thought this video was going to be one of those meta version of, basically go through today and then produce another video summarizing my learnings. But as it turned out, that I had a lot of surprising findings. Number one is that the fact that, oh, by the way, if you're here for the first time out of 30 days, I'm Faye, podcaster slash YouTuber slash documentary filmmaker. Absolutely love going live. This is not the first time. This is the last day of 30-day live, but I've been live streaming, especially with my podcast guests, since early 2020. And I used a system called Restream. So the decision in terms of why I started this live stream was simply because I didn't want my year to necessarily slow down. Number one, I wanted to do something that I was proud of, that I could learn from my own experience. And reason number two was that I wanted to do something more spontaneous and less produced. And my producer Herman and I talked about the important subjects that we care about, but YouTube algorithms and such, they don't care about. So I want to connect with people in a real, authentic way. So if you're here, please let me know where you're dialing in, tuning in from. I always love that. Just tell me your location and a bit about who you are. The truth is, I've been able to connect with a lot of people during live stream and really learn so much more about them, about their businesses. And a lot of DMs, messages will come through Instagram, which really helped me understand, who are watching. And a lot of the people, surprisingly, were not followers and were subscribers. I think that's the third thing I learned as part of 30-day live was that, number one, that people may or may not tune in live. If you are, I really appreciate it. But in reality is a lot of people were tuned in for like 30 seconds, a minute. And some people, I know some diehard fans will be with me asking questions for the entire duration. Sometimes I'm live for 30, 40 minutes and they're there, supporting me, supporting my audience members. But at the same time, when you start something new, you just can't expect everyone to do the same. And during the holiday season, it's kind of oh, there we go. Ron is back again. And there we go. Ron is such a huge supporter. And Ron has been watching the YouTube channel for Phase World for the past year or so. And it's just so cool to have people you can connect with. You're on the same path, exploring and learning at the same time. And yeah, absolutely. And please let me know, Ron, like what you have learned maybe through your experience. But here's what I learned, that not everybody is available instantly, and that's okay. And the fourth lessons I learned was the fact that I want to take myself a little less seriously and my content less seriously. Look, like I don't take myself very seriously. I was debating whether I should just maybe go live like this. Maybe I will for a little while. I don't want to take myself too seriously, but in in the past few years or so, admittedly, I've always taken my content, my audience, my purpose, my knowledge very seriously. Sometimes it serves me, sometimes it does not, right? And it's one of those things where we kind of have to hold our ideas lightly. That's something I learned from a teacher at Newton North High School, Sue Brooks. And so I've been, and prior to the pandemic, kind of servicing as an art advisor and sort of thing, and to go to like local high schools and bring them to the agencies I once worked at. Oh, it's really hot, but in general, just kind of like go over there and check out their homework, check out their new projects, give them some ideas. But she teaches all the students, and I was there and I learned important lessons that we have to hold our ideas lightly. Because oftentimes, whether it's this live stream as an idea or an idea for the day, how do we play the long game, which is today's topic. And yesterday was how do we work with clients? Once we get into this habit somehow to say, oh, I'm committed to do this thing. It has to be successful. Oh, I'm committed to talk about this thing. People have to be interested. They may or may not be in this moment, and they might just tune in or care about it at a later time. So one important lessons I learned is that number one, not everybody is available from 3 to 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. And some people want to watch this, but not right now. And I have to be okay with that. Um, I also like the idea of training myself to come up with topics, even if that means for me to talk into an empty room. So here's what I learned. Check it out. Recently, I've gone on Zoom calls, regular phone calls with people I've kind of lost in touch with. And we all try to stay in touch, but it's hard, right? Like life, work get in the way. So I reach out to people I haven't spoken with for months, even years. And guess what I'm hearing? Hey, Faye, I really enjoy your 30-day live. They not only mention the live stream, but they know it's part of a series and start talking about some of the things I discussed. Maybe not that day or the day before. They start bringing up topics and reflecting on their own experiences. And I was shocked. I shouldn't be because I also learn about these things with podcasting too. It's like, who's listening? I don't have that many listeners. On average, my episode gets about, a few hundred on average. And the better episodes or more popular episodes are like two, 3,000s. And that's it. On YouTube, maybe 10,000. That's for Chris Voss, reserved for the Black Swan Group. But in general, not that many people. Yet I go to the swimming pool and whatever, doing my outdoor stuff. And, people will, not random people. So far, I've had like a couple of random people recognizing me from Face World. And it's really funny. But in general, people who have met me in the past will talk to me about these things that I've, talked on a recent live stream. And I'm just thinking, like, how come, they were not, I don't think they've ever left a comment or asked a question, and yet they somehow consumed the content and they really took it in and somehow to help them. So, yeah, I think once again, like, don't take ourselves too seriously by putting out content. People may not engage right away, but they will find it, through YouTube algorithm, and people sharing with one another. It's really beautiful. Another point that I'm making here is I started seeing people sharing my YouTube video content in general, but including live stream through WhatsApp. And I was once again kind of surprised because I don't see WhatsApp as a very popular app. Maybe I'm wrong in the US. I mean, some folks use it, but I mean, most people in my world are just using, iMessage or text messages in general. Whereas I always use WhatsApp to communicate with my teams from overseas. And yet I started to see the trend of YouTube recommending my videos, including live streams, and people are sharing via WhatsApp. So, okay, with that said, all right, let's see the comment from Ron again. While they learn from you, they may not know how to support you through the medium. That's so true. I need to comment on that. If you're watching this at any point, you have a family friend or colleague or a dear friend who started a podcast, who started anything, a live stream, white paper, I don't know, blog post, and then you decided you want to share it with your audience. I cannot emphasize how important that means to us, especially when you include some of your personal comments, what you have learned from it and how it may help someone else. That is huge. I mean, it's kind of strange because for us content creators, whether it's a video or a podcast, it takes hours, sometimes days, physical, mental labor to get something out there. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but for you to then listen to 5 minutes of it or read something and then share it with your audience, and it doesn't matter how small your audience is. You may be thinking like, some people say like, Faye, I didn't want to share it because I have, 100 connections or 200 connections on my LinkedIn or Facebook. It doesn't matter. I appreciate them. They're like, I didn't think it made a big difference. And it really does. And that's one way of really helping us out as content creators. And recently, I have to share as well. I feel like I'm having a one-on-one conversation with Ron. I always enjoy this too. But recently, as in the past week or two, in the past few months, I've been pretty obsessed with a YouTuber named Ali Abdal, and just kind of watch him grow from when I first subscribed, 1.6 million followers to today, 2.3, 2.4. Last year he made, I think, $1.5 million from YouTube and his part-time YouTuber Academy. This year, he just revealed his total revenue, I think a week ago, was close to $5 million. It's not just about money. Speaking of which, I am really proud. I think later today or after the call, I'm going to release finally my video revealing my income directly through YouTube this year. So it's YouTube ads, sponsorships, brand deals, and and what else? Yeah, and courses, digital products that are not courses like the Zoom timers. And yeah, so I was really shocked by the amount because I felt like my growth this year on YouTube has really slowed down. 2020 was a huge breakthrough for me. People were very interested in how to, conduct sort of like virtual meetings, platforms in general. Speaking of which, I should probably remove this graphic so you can see this URL here. People want to learn everything about Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, and especially Zoom. So I did tremendous amount of content on Zoom, including how to look good, sound good, lighting, camera. So in 2020, I just had more subscribers, more views, more growth. But this year, without giving away the video entirely, this year I doubled my income from YouTube with a lot less growth. And the reason is because I have become more mature of a YouTuber. I now learn how to work with different brands, how to position myself. By the way, all that knowledge is available at YouTuberKit.com, which I developed. And yeah, oh, wonderful. See, like a lot of people found me as a result of watching the Zoom videos. And yeah, and once again, if you enjoy the content, like if you want to support a creator without giving any money away, by the way, the really liking, subscribing, getting notifications, and sharing above all, it is absolutely huge. And so that's something I compiled everything I learned into this kit called the YouTuberKit.com. And it has sections such as how do you start? There's a startup kit, content creation kit, marketing kit, and money kit, and really proud of that. But my latest project in the past couple of weeks, in addition to live stream, is called The Ultimate Guide to Zoom. And last night, by the way, I was recording the intro because my team and I, Anna, Rose, my producer Herman, and I, are committed to launch this as of January. In fact, it has already been launched. And I had this hesitation of like, is this even relevant? Am I too late in the game? But I developed this. I'm really proud, not really proud, because I realized that people are not really all that into teaching about Zoom anymore. It feels like, oh, now the basics are done. Now I know how to set up lights and install a camera. I'm all set there. But know that there's, number one, much more competition in the world today. More people are comfortable and knowing more than they did before. It's hard to stand out. Whether you're a coach, an entrepreneur, you do a lot of your business online, or you're an educator, you're a business person, you're running these webinars. People now know more and they expect more from your events. So it's important to step up the game. That's number one. But also, I realized that because I'm not affiliated with Zoom, I can talk about their limitations. I can talk about things that simply don't work and proactively provide workarounds. And thirdly, and not lastly, is that body language, neurolinguistic programming, all the things that are not directly related to Zoom really matters. Recently, I had a conversation with my friend Claudia Fix, who appeared, I think, 2 days ago on this live stream with me. And she talked about working at art museums and in general working with artists. Once you get past Zoom, it's really about the soft skills, such as when when you start a meeting, there were 5 people, all of a sudden there, 10 people. People stop introducing each other. And a lot of the people who are not just late to the meeting, but, later on introduced to the meeting or asked to join later, don't even know who's who in the meeting. So people are very disengaged. So things like that, I also want to talk about as part of the ultimate guide to Zoom, and just really create a very friendly community and an environment where we can support one another. So, all right. My latest obsession with this very hidden YouTuber is named Leon Hendricks. So there is a video that I urge everyone to watch. And I don't know why. Last night I was watching this video. I just dropped in the comments, by the way. I realized it's so relevant, and all his entire channel and all his videos are truly fantastic. There's one more that I watch. It's called Why You Cannot Afford Your Dream, or Why You Cannot Afford Your Passion. It's dead on. And he offers tips and tricks. I feel like I'm gonna paraphrase and share here as well. Is that one of the most important things I learned as a creative entrepreneur, or starting out as an entrepreneur, is that I finally had a moment to myself to listen to my inner voice, to ask myself really deep questions, not just what other people tell me that I should do, or what I was conditioned to do, or there's a checklist I was born with or born into as part of my culture. But really sit down with yourself and figure out what gives you energy, what gives you joy. And to me, I realized something, which is, it could sound terrible to some other people. So I love watching videos. I love exploring, whether it's Zoom or Final Cut Pro, or any of the software that I use on the daily, that or canva.com for online design. I notice these things and that helps me with my work. I immediately want to just turn on Loom, LOOM, to start recording some tutorials. I just couldn't even help myself. And it sounds exhausting. It sounds horrible to some people, but I stop myself and just create a tutorial right away. It's imperfect, by the way. And later on these days, I kind of have a formula because I now think about like why I want to and should share these tutorials on my YouTube channel. So, I get my light, I turn on my light, which takes 2 seconds, have the video on so it's a little more engaging. And I do that. It gives me tremendous amount of joy and energy to be very spontaneous and to create tutorials and to be constantly teaching, including new skills that we acquire on the daily, right, guys? Like, think about, speaking of being a creative entrepreneur, you're learning new things on the daily. Like these days, I mentioned, since I bought a house, I have to learn how to like fix things around the house. I was never taught, never learned how to do those things. My parents were not any particularly good at them either. So I learned by myself. I will watch YouTube videos again. I'll try to read these very confusing manuals. I will go to Home Depot these days about twice a week. It used to be like once a day. It's almost like, I don't know. I feel like I'm stepping into such a different phase of my life. It's kind of funny, but I learn a lot and I want to do those tutorials. So absolutely. Let's see. It's it's all about what triggers you to act. Exactly. There's certain moments where it's a big deal to somebody else, but it's not really a big deal to you. So, like, for instance, like when I sit in front of the TV, and as much as I love entertainment, I really don't, I can watch a TV show, I could be super into it, but it's also okay if I don't pay attention 110% of the time, right? Like, it's okay for me to miss a plot, like not get it. It doesn't really bother me, but it really bothers somebody else. So, like you always have to be paying attention because to me, it's a kind of a vehicle for me to relax, for me to to take my mind off content creation and teaching. And that's how I see, TV and entertainment for. So for me, it's like there's an urge of knowing and creating these mechanisms and creating these systems to not only save people so much time is just essential. So once again, thank you so much, Ron. And so every time I try to like, I feel like I bought this uh air filter, purifier, or whatever in my office. And my mom's watching my live stream and said, how come you're like touching your face? Because it's all like, for some reason, once you sit here and it doesn't happen for some reason when I'm working, I just feel like little dust is like flying all over the place. I'm like, have to rub my nose. But yeah, see, these things you just cannot edit out during a live stream at all. But a couple of things I want to kind of close with, which is I the video I shared earlier, and the title was Asking Millionaires for the Shortcut to $1 million. And in this case, Leon Hendricks interviewed 9 millionaires about the biggest mistakes they wish they had avoided and what they believe is the biggest shortcut to making $1 million. And it's really interesting. So in summarizing that, number one is about thinking long term. And I want to say that it is such an important lesson. If I had thought, whether it's podcasting or content creation or becoming a creative entrepreneur, I give myself 6 months to a year to be very successful, for this to be a very sustainable career, I would have absolutely failed because I would have to quit, basically. Whatever those goals and milestones that you have for short terms, they're really not very ideal because when you start out, you're still trying to figure out who you are, what you're good at. Those combinations that seem so trivial, on the New York Times or whatever it is, it's not trivial in real life. Last night, I had a conversation with a colleague of mine who's based in Australia, and she was, confronted with the fact that, she started building this business, but It wasn't just because she was good at doing X. She didn't necessarily want to do X for her current or future clients. So she had to pivot again. That was her second or third pivot. And she felt, like it is a process that can be quite painful because you want to know exactly who you are, what you want to do, and just keep things simple, right? Start building clients, keeping those clients. But in reality, you just need that time. So having long-term thinking is really important, and giving yourself 3 to 5 years as opposed to 3 to 5 months or up to a year can open up so many different opportunities. And tip number two from these millionaires is peer groups and partnerships. And so it sounds probably pretty trivial. For instance, I'm now developing Zoom tutorials. As you can see, faceworld.podia.com/Zoom. It's kind of an easier sell for me because I'm already known for that category: Zoom webinar, Zoom for fitness, Zoom for artists and musicians on YouTube. So YouTube is still constantly favoring those contents of mine and just automatically recommended, suggested. But if I'm stepping into a whole new genre, for instance, YouTuber Kit was a much harder sell for me because I wasn't, I'm still not known as this big YouTuber who's made a ton of money and can teach people a ton of shortcuts, even though shortcuts really don't exist. But what you can do in terms of partnerships and leverage is if you develop something and you look around, your people and companies who can partner with you. And so instead of having them develop those products, they can just buy them from you. Maybe you throw this company, an affiliate fee, some referral fee, and that's it. All of a sudden, you're going to triple and quadruple your sales and growth. But of course, you need to work with people you trust and people who actually have an audience that you desire to reach. Now, the tip number three, I would say, is they really drag this one out, is to enjoy the moment and enjoy the journey. And that is huge. All the millionaire, most of them are actually billionaires. They said they once all thought somehow, once I reach $1 million, $2 million, three, $10 million, I will then be able to do X. I will then regain my freedom. I'll have more freedom. I'll have time, financial freedom. I'll be happier. Whatever that is, there isn't more on the other side, as it turned out. People often get busier, more frustrated, having less time, more obligations and responsibilities as opposed to less. So if there's no takeaway from the 30-day live, I hope that whatever you do, whichever journey you are on that's unique to you, don't restrict yourself with a certain, I don't know, dollar amount, number, goal, timeline, but really enjoy the journey. And, there are going to be moments where you feel down. You feel like this will never work. I'm an idiot. I let myself down. I let down my family. But try to enjoy those moments. Those moments and those thoughts will occur every once in a while, but you gotta believe in yourself. If you know that you're genuinely on the right path, if you trust the process, if you're doing your best, sometimes it just takes longer to get to point B than you originally wanted, or what New York Times or these, HubSpot or all of these articles have promised you. But I think that luckily for us these days, I definitely see many more authentic articles out there to embrace the long game. Oh, by the way, definitely check out Dory Clark's brand new book. It's called The Long Game with many, many O's in between. And she is a fantastic example to really talk about the long game. And thank you so much, Malcolm. Welcome back. Yes, hitting the 30-day mark, incredibly proud. And yeah, so I hope you guys, if you're new to me on YouTube, I hope you will subscribe because I think I have some really great content coming your way. In 2022, I decided that this next year, I'm going to laser focus on Zoom webinar, body language, and really help you stand out from the crowd on any virtual platform. So we'll focus on Zoom, but I think a lot of that knowledge, especially the soft skills, are going to translate super well. And I'll try to partner with as many of the world leaders. I mean, recently I interviewed Mark Bowden, who is I don't know, it's just so joyful to talk to him. And yeah, so I'm very, very optimistic, and I'm going to really work with myself to stay focused and bring more value to you guys. Wherever you are, Happy New Year. I so appreciate you. And I hope you will consider live streaming the content that you love to talk about, help one more person. If that's all your goal, there's nothing that will stop you. So love to this community. I will see you before the new year as well. All right.